Welcome back to Healthwise. With us is Dr. Rainey, and he's a family medicine, I guess, practitioner or general practitioner, if you call it, in Ville Platte. And he's with us today to talk about preventative medicine and what we can do to, I guess, keep from getting sick, basically, and some good health tips. Okay.
Our role in primary care is really preventative medicine. We spend, well, I don't say we spend, but the bulk of our problems these days, especially with the current medical care system, is that we're having more and more chronic problems as we get older. A lot of these problems, if we took better care of ourselves in our youth, can be prevented. And I think that is a vastly underestimated aspect of healthcare. By exercising, eating correctly, making sure you get your flu shots, your regular screenings, a lot of chronic problems such as diabetes, hypertension can be prevented. With regular exercise, at least 60 minutes, 3 times a week, you live longer. Your overall health is improved. Exercise does so many things for you, as well as far as lowering cortisol levels, which are a stress hormone, which can cause high blood pressure. Releasing endorphins, which are the natural chemicals in the body that make you feel good, which will also lower blood pressure, decrease anxiety, increase well-being and self-well-being, and all those type of things are directly related to chronic problems. You look at any type of issue such as diabetes, which is primarily due to one, eating too much and inactivity. If we exercised a little better and watched what we ate, that could be a large portion of the population that could avoid that. In fact, there have been studies where people who were type 2 diabetics and obese, as they lost weight, their diabetes, they were able to actually come off some medications. And the same thing can be said for people that have chronic hypertension due to obesity and such. So exercising regular is just a good thing to do. There's just too many aspects of it that if we did as regular, we could avoid.
Well, Doc, let me ask you this. In your practice, how many I guess problems do you see? Especially, first of all, we live in an area where we eat all the wrong kinds of food. We love crackling, we love boudin, we love all these different things, and and fried foods, of course. Yeah. How many problems do you see stemming from the diet?
Well, I'd have to say the bulk of it. It really is, I think, it's a national epidemic. Obesity is just becoming out of control, and I think we have to take a good hard look at how we live. And part of South Louisiana's charm is our food, and I think that we shouldn't lose that. And I'm not telling anybody to go out and not enjoy a good piece of crackling or a good boudin link every now and then, but if that becomes the majority of your diet, well, then those are the type of things where I think we need a change. The other aspect is to increase your activities. Now, if you're enjoying those type of, for me particularly, I'm a big duck hunter and goose hunter, and nothing's better than coming out of the blind and going and get a nice little hot link and enjoying that on the way home. If you're getting outside, you're exercising, chasing down birds through ponds, that's physical activity. And I think when you look at those things, as long as you're doing something to burn those type of calories, I think it's okay to occasionally abide in.
Right. It's just not to overdo.
That's right.
Because, and I know I see it in our field. It's amazing, and I've seen the trend because I've been a medic for a long time, and I remember we had little people. When I say little, I mean everybody was 100 pounds or less. And now we're seeing 500 and 600 pound people, and picking up patients that are that size. And like
can
you
also
said,
be detrimental to your health as
sure,
well.
sure, right, sure. Excuse me. And you said obesity, is an epidemic, and it really is, because we're seeing young people that are that size. I mean, it's not elderly people. We're seeing people that's in their 30s and 40s, and we call it morbid obesity, and morbid is death.
Yes.
Because they're that big to where they're killing themselves.
Very so.
So once again, you said exercise, and it doesn't have to be, when you say exercise, I mean, people think you have to go to a gym or something.
No.
It doesn't have to be that.
I do get a lot of people saying, well, Doc, I exercise all the time. I clean my house. I chase after the kids. And while that's activities, I think that my definition of exercise is something that's dedicated to, one, increasing the heart rate, two, I believe it's 80% of the optimal or your max heart rate. It's dedicated sort of away from those stress or anxiety situations, and it's a focused event or a focused activity. Chasing after the kids is something we should all be able to do regularly. We shouldn't have to. That shouldn't be considered exercise. That should be something we want to do, and that's simply living. And I think that finding something that's defined or obtaining or doing a strict exercise regimen is something that's going to be walking outside, or speed walking, and getting outside though, and doing those physically exerting things where you are going to get your heart rate and you are going to break a little sweat. If you're breaking sweats chasing your children or doing the house chores, and I think that's a sign probably that you're under-exercising. You should be enjoying those things and doing those things at ease.
Yeah, well, and once again, like you said, but some people like to go work out in the garden. Some people like to do, and I know, especially among the elderly, we see a lot of that where they like doing those kind of activities. Well, those are fine for,
yes,
their exercise or whatever, because we don't want to overdo it either.
No, but even doing, it is good for the elderly to do those things, but I think even the elderly could find some time to do something outside of that. There are different. There are 80-year-olds who can do things like 40-year-olds, and then there are 40-year-olds who can't do anything like an 80-year-old.
Exactly.
And I think when you look at how that 80-year-old got to that point where they can do the activities of 40-year-old, they for the most part, most of them have been active there all their lives. They had hobbies. They exercised regularly. They or played sports. Anything that kind of kept them very active. Not to knock TV since we're here, but limiting the amount of TV time, and especially in the youth, under 12 to less than 2 hours of non-educational TV time are all things that can make a difference. And I think when you look at those people that are 80 years old, that act like they're 40, they didn't do those type of things.
Right.
They led an active lifestyle.
Right. Well, okay, Doc. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that, especially that about the TV. We'll talk about that being kind of a detriment to the youth. But when we get back after this message from our sponsors.
Thank you.